ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एदि वेदस्य मा आनिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीरनेन अदितेन आहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु मामवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं निखिलपूर्णगुणैकदेहं सर्वज्ञम् अच्युतमपेतसमस्तदोषं प्राणस्य सर्वचित् अचित् परमेश्वरस्य साक्षादधीश्वरमियां शरणं रमेशम्. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon for Satsangis who have joined for the part 5 of Aitareya Upanishad. So let's get in straight. Let's think about the Rishi for this. Mahidasa Aitareya, Ramadevi, Chaturmukha Brahma, Mukhya Prana, and all the Acharyas who have given us the direction as to how to understand the Aitareya Upanishad. The Devata for this Upanishad is Mahidasa Aitareya himself, who is none other than Vishnu's avatara. So Mahidasa Aitareya, who also goes by the Akaranama Paramatma. Akaranamaka Paramatma, okay, is the Devata for this amazing Upanishad. The Chandas, primarily it is in prose, but last week we touched upon a verse from the Rig Veda, so we were able to contemplate the Chandas in that. So the primary philosophy of Aitareya Upanishad, and over the last 4 sessions, we have been thinking about this quite a lot, and we all understand that this is Vishnurahasya. The glories of Vishnu Tattva is the primary theme of Aitareya Upanishad. Okay, so where are we in the Aitareya Upanishad? Just a brief recap of the overall structure of the Aitareya Upanishad. So you got the Aranyaka portions. Srimad Acharya tells us there are two Pragatakas or Aranyakas. The first Pragataka has got 6 adhyayas, and the second Pragataka has got 8 adhyayas. At the tail end of the second Pragataka is the Mahanamni mantras. Okay, so within the first Pragataka, the last adhyaya, and in the second Pragataka, the 8 adhyayas form the Aitareya Upanishad. So you're looking at 9 adhyayas of Aitareya Upanishad. Okay, each adhyaya has got various khandas. Okay, so 8, 4, 8, 3, 1, 1, 1, 6, 6. So many khandas. That is 38 khandas. So there are 38 khandas, 9 adhyayas. Currently, we are doing the first adhyaya, which has got 8 khandas, and we are contemplating on the first kanda of the first adhyaya of the first pragataka of the Aitareya Upanishad. So long way to go for us. But as we discussed last time, I think we should go at a glacial speed. It is only at the glacial speed that we can actually understand the deep philosophies that are there in the Aitareya Upanishad. So the verse that we were looking at is the first paragraph of the first kanda of the first adhyaya. Harihi Om. Esha Pantaha. Etat Karma. Etat Brahma. Etat Satyam. Tasmat na pramadyet. Tanna atiyat. Nahi atyayan purve. Ye atyayan te parababuvuhu. Taduktam rishina. Prajahatisro atyayam yiyur. Nyanya arkam abhito vivishre. Bruhatta tastau bhavaneshwantaha pavamano harita avivesheti. So this is the paragraph that we've been looking at, and we have made the ones that are underlined in green means that we have dealt with these verses, but still lots more to be contemplated on these verses. Okay. So what is the summary of this? Prajahatisro atyayam yiyur nyanyarkam abhito vivishre bruhattatasto bhuvaneshwantaha pavamano harita avivesheti. That was the Rig Veda mantra. So where did this Aitareya Upanishad begin? It said, look, guys, God has got four names. Yesha Panta, Yetat Brahma, Yetat Karma, Yetat Satyam. So these are the four names of the four Vyuha forms of the Lord that looks after not only the whole of the universe but also the affairs of the souls as they journey through their samsara. The Vyuha forms of the Lord looks after the journey of souls as well as the whole universe that the Brahman has brought into existence. So we also understood this is the Omkara that expands into various forms of Brahman that we celebrate, or the Omkara gives us the opportunity to celebrate the various attributes of Brahman. Okay? So that was the first line of the this Kanda. So, having said that it is this Brahman that looks after the whole careers of souls, Aitareya said, because it is me who is looking after these souls, okay, two things, guys, don't do two things. One is what? Tasmat na pramadyet. Yes. Guys, don't forget me. Aitareya, Vishnu Namaka Paramatma. Vishnu is saying here, don't forget me. Tasmat na pramadyet. Not only that, not only just you forgetting me, there are so many folks in this world who are atheists, who don't even think about Paramatma or the Supreme Being. They just carry on with their mundane material lives. Not only that, don't surpass me. Don't transgress me. Okay? Don't think somebody else is more superior than me. So, Tanna Atiyat gives two cautions. Tasmatna Pramadyet, Tanna Atiyat. Perhaps maybe in our lives, if we follow these two principles, we will be successful. Okay? But there are folks who don't follow this. And that is what the Aitareya has been talking to us last week. And in the Rig Veda, the Jamadagni's mantra also has been talking about that. Who are these guys? So there's one set of souls that forget me. They try to surpass me. They think they can surpass me. This is an important question. Yeah, actually, nobody can surpass Brahman. Okay, and I think Devalji was pointing this point in the WhatsApp discussions. Nobody can surpass Brahman. Yeah, that is a given. But there are some folks who are in so much delusion that they think that they can surpass Brahman, or they can think that there is some other entity that has surpassed Brahman already. Okay. So those category of souls, they not only forget Brahman, but they also think that something else has surpassed this Vishnu Tattva. What is their destination? Eternal hells is what our Aitareya said. Parababuhu. So that parababuhu, that word is, they have the miserable failure of their lives. The worst form of failure is what? Going into eternal hells. Okay, so these are the tamasika jivas. These are the souls with intrinsic quality of tamasika. Tamasika jivas. Who are these? Aitareya gives us a clarification as who these souls are. Vayamsi, Vangavagadaha, Irapadaha. And we understood Vayamsi means Pishachakaha, Vangavagadaha is Rakshasas, Irapadaha are Asuras. When we look at the etymology of these words, we understand that these are the types of souls, the tamasic ones, that reach eternal hells. But there are other guys, the ones that do not forget me and do not surpass me, says Aitareya. Those guys attain liberation. Okay? And again, Aitareya says there are three types of such souls, okay, that do not forget me and do not surpass me, and they attain liberation. So these are the Satvika souls that are out there. Okay. After all, of course, our Aitareya said these guys are all my children. Prajaha. Pra is Vishnu's name. Ja means born out of Vishnu. Born out of Vishnu means what? Comes out of the womb of Brahman or Vishnu during creation. Okay. So these guys, the two fellows who either forget me and surpass me or don't forget me and surpass me, seem to have entirely two different destinations according to Aitareya Upanishad. Okay, so here I have a quick question. What happens to the Rajasic souls? What happens to these souls? We spoke about the Tamasics who go to eternal hells, and we spoke about the Sattvics who go to liberation. So, what happens to the Rajasic type of souls, the souls that are predominantly Rajasic qualities? What happens to those? Anybody wants to come in and share their thoughts here? Okay, so we'll go with Shrikantji and then Pragneshji. Shrikantji.
Namaskar. They stay in eternal cycle of samsara. They keep going round and round and round, get nowhere.
Thank you very much, Shrikantji. Pragneshji?
They are attending the session today to elevate to Satvika.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. If that is the case, super. Yeah. So I will give it to Shrikantji for now. What happens to those folks who are purely Satvika, so who are purely Rajasika? So yeah, Pragneshji, if there was an element of Satvika in that souls, they would be coming to satsang and then making progress. But we are talking about the ones that are so purely Rajasic, what happens to them. So, as Shrikandi was mentioning, these guys go round and round in circles. They do they come into Sarka Samsara, they do all sorts of karma, accumulate karmic imprints, again go into this. This is the eternal cycles. Okay, so stay with me on this idea. This is not a particular school's thought, or it is not a dogma. This is what Aitareya Upanishad is saying, and more importantly, this is what the Rig Veda is saying. Yeah, so it is giving what is happening to these prajas. Okay, so stay with me on this. It is something that will elicit a lot of discussions, and I hope it will. So here is another point: the Rajasics and Tamasics never attain eternal bliss. Okay, this is a controversial statement to make. Okay, so we will think about this. How is it possible? The Rajasic and Tamasic souls, that is the inherent quality of those souls, they will never go to eternal bliss. Either they will be loitering in samsara or they will go into eternal suffering. Okay, not eternal bliss. Something to think about at this point of time. Okay, hold your thoughts there. So this is what is called as a tripartite classifications of souls, not a mastaka view, but a pustaka view. The view from Aitareya Upanishad as well as the Rig Veda 8, 101:14. We may agree with this view or we may disagree with this view, but philosophy is what? It is a bitter pill, as is frequently reminded to us. We need to see things as they are in themselves. Yathartham pramanam. Yeah, as they are in themselves, we have to see. And that is how we see in the world that there are good fellows, there are the really bad ones, and there are the ones that are indifferent and just carry on with their material life. So if you look at it from the way the universe is, it appears to be that this is the case. Okay, philosophy is determination of things as they are in themselves. Yes, that is a key point. Philosophy is all about determining things as they are in themselves. Okay, not coming up with airy fairy philosophies and trying to fit things into it. We just need to see as how the reality of the world is. Okay, this is what Srimad Acharya is asking us to think about. Look at the world and come up with a experience this world and come up with a view as to why this is happening. Okay, so we were talking about Prajaha Tisro Atyayam. So there are the fellows who surpassed Brahman and they forgot Brahman. Okay, and we also saw from the previous class, our Aitareya classified them as Vayamsi Vangavagata or Irapadaha or Pishachakaha, Rakshasaha, Asuraha. Okay. So even you will be surprised to see even among the worst souls or the tamasic souls, there is a gradation. Okay, there are the evils, there are more evils and the most evils. Okay, so this is how the philosophy is progressing in the Aitareya Upanishad. Gradation of souls even for tamasikas. Vayamsis or the pishachakas are the level 1 of the worst forms of souls that are out there. Okay, and if you go through our scriptures, there are all sorts of pishachakas that are described in our Puranas and other steps. And I just did a bit of a search and I was able to find so many names of various pishachas that have been described in various Puranas. Brahma pishachas you will be very familiar with. Yeah, there are so many pishachas. Rakshasahas. So Rakshasas, I'm going to pause there for a minute. What is the meaning of Rakshasas? We looked at this last week. So who is going to share their ideas about who the Rakshasas actually are? For the problem, so Rakshasas means that beings from which we should protect ourselves. Rakshas means what? Protection, right? Rakshasas means that evil beings from whom we have to protect ourselves. Okay, so these guys are called Bangavagadas. Okay, they are man eaters and insatiable appetite and desires. Okay, so these are classically classified as Rakshasas in our system. I've just put Baka Rakshasa of Mahabharata. You could say these guys are the level 2. Okay. Then you have the level 3 or the worst ones, the worst types of tamasika souls. These are categorized as level 1, level 3. So who are these fellows? Irapadaha. And we understood last time Irapada means, Ira means Samira is Mukhya Prana. He's got 4 attributes. One among that is called Aishwarya. And these Asuras have Aishwarya only, but they don't have Vairagya, Dharma, Jnana, and all that they don't have. They have only 1/4 of what Ira has. So it's called Irapadaha. So these guys are called Asuras. Okay. So Asuras we are very familiar with. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, Ravana, Duryodhana, and there are very many in the modern times. Innumerable number in the modern times. Okay. Hiranyakashipu. So look at the Hiranyakashipu. If you are familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam and what he said, Mad Anyaha Ishwaraha Kaha. I am God. Nobody else is a God apart from me. Mat Anyaha Ishwaraha Kaha. Who is there out there I am the Ishwara. There is nobody else who is out there. So there are those Asuras who go around saying, I am God. Okay. So the classic example is Hiranyakashipu. And we all know what Hiranyakashipu's fate is by Narasimha. Okay. So our Srimad Acharya does a lot of beautiful Mangalacharana sloka about Narasimha. Narasimho Akila Ajnana Mata Dvanta Divakaraha. So he celebrates Narasimha in one of his Kandanatrayas. Mayavada Kandana. He starts off with Narasimha. Madanyaha Ishwarakaha. So very beautiful. So there are gradations of souls, whether we like it or not, that is there in the scriptures. We may want to take it or we may want to reject it. It's entirely up to us. Here is a bigger problem that perhaps maybe we should open up for, thinking about this. And we did discuss some aspects of it in the last satsang. If God is the supreme controller, omnipotent being that brings everything into creation, why is he allowing evil to exist and for us to do bad actions? Okay, this is a frequent question that comes in all of world religions. Okay, and our Sanatana Dharma or the Vedas and the Vedic philosophy has a profound view on this. Why is God allowing evil to exist? And also sometimes we do bad actions. Why is that happening? Okay. So who wants to pick up on this idea and then we move on to the next slide? Any thoughts at this point? No problem. Okay, so we've
I think Bhagavad Gita Krishna says Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguna Sabhavatas, and they are the reason for all the bad actions we do.
Yeah.
And God, God has to let everybody elevate and know themselves they are wrong, isn't it? So God is just I think I don't know how to explain.
It is a process, isn't Madhu?
Elevate ourselves,
how the souls are created and how everything. So it is a process, and it is like, why do you have to go on the wrong side of the road? Somebody gets killed if there is a God, So, but that is the rule, that's the way the road is designed so that everybody goes, yeah. But if a soul decides to go on the wrong side, then it gets killed, yeah, or soul or somebody, yeah. So in the same way, you can't question why there is two sides. Why can't be just one way? So then there won't be any accidents. So the question is like why there is evil. It's more like that.
Yeah, sure, Sudarshanji, but still the point remains, if there is an Antaryamin in all the souls, why is this Antaryamin not ensuring that they do only good actions? Okay, but anyway, very interesting thoughts. We'll come to Shaptarshiji and then come to Shrikantji.
Namaskar, Madhusudanji. It is actually God's greatness that He is giving us the opportunity to do what we want to do. And if it is asked that why God is not changing our swabhava, and maybe people may ask like, okay, it means God can be an entity who loves self praise. I like people who just praise me. That is not the case, because I think the Rajasic and the Tamasic jivas, they should be grateful to God, because the God need to take extra effort to provide a separate place for them to execute their swabhava. So it is His greatness that, okay, you are of no use of me, okay, but still, as you want to execute something, I am giving space to you. Okay, you go and play around there, and that is His greatness here.
Thank you, Saptarshi ji. Very interesting. Harshad ji, no, Srikant ji, and then Harshad ji.
I was going to say the same as Saptarshi ji, and Anand ji said that very beautifully last time. It's the nature of each soul, as you know, we all know, Jiva is eternal. It's not a created thing. So as a consequence, we are what we are. And using the Dva Suparano, the God is sitting on the same branch as us mundane souls and is watching us doing stupid things. And if by some miracle, if we attain His grace, we may turn around and look at Him. At that time, maybe we have a chance, like one of our friends was just saying, maybe he gets a chance to elevate ourselves from a lower Rajasika guy to a slightly higher Rajasika guy, maybe. And that way, a chance to improve upon ourselves. If not, if we go with the wrong satsanga, then Govinda, then nothing happens.
Thank you, Srikant ji. Very interesting. Harshad Dapke ji.
In the previous, Namaskar Guruji, in the previous sessions, you had talked about the analogy of a potter and a pot being made. So the Paramatma is like the potter who's made the pot, which is ourselves, and he is within his own creation, but stays aloof from it. Whereas what we do and how we allow the three gunas to influence us depends on our swabhava. So to that end, the choice is left to us. So whether the pot should accept honey or something else is left to the pot. Perhaps that's my vague understanding of this.
Yeah, very, 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 very beautifully put, Harshad ji. Thank you very much. Pragnesh ji?
Yeah, Madhu.
Yeah, 1 minute, Sudarshan. I'll come to you. Pragnesh?
So yes, again, similar to Harshadji, that again,
the same thing the previous person.
Yeah, sorry, Pragnesh ji, go for it. Sudarshan will come to you.
Gita says Sutra Manigana. So God is present, but is like a catalyst. It facilitates the reaction, but doesn't take part in reaction. So if the reaction is fruitful, the outcome is good. If the reaction is destructive, the outcome is bad. But God has not played active role in that.
Thank you, Pragnesh ji. Sudarshan, do you want to come back?
Yeah, no, it's the same point, like what the previous person or the previous one said. So it's about like I'm normally a good driver, and but on the day if I drink alcohol, then it's my job. I had an accident, isn't it? It's my mistake. The same way, even though there is an antaryami within me, if I am surrounded by all these egoistic like tamasic and everything, so it is my job to get rid of that. I can't just depend on antaryami, because then it destroys the purpose of the existence and creation and everything.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Deval ji?
I have a question and a comment. One is following this thread of line, and from what you've said before, it's because he's impartial, and that is why, and stays within the creation. But my comment was, does God, because he's also allowing good to exist, does he also prevent us from doing good, excessive good, was a question.
Yeah, sure.
Can I also add my couple of lines?
Yes, Rajji, and then we'll come to Sheila ji again. Yeah.
Sorry. I think it is like he's creating a taratamya to show the value of, for example, if you don't know the darkness, you don't know the value of light. So basically, he's creating the variation in souls so that the good ones know what is good, and then how they can elevate themselves to even a higher level. I think that may be the intention.
Sure, Rajji, very, very interesting thoughts there. And Sheilaji, finally, and then we move on. Sheilaji?
Madhuji, I don't know whether it's irrelevant to this question, because we always say whatever we do, Hari Karta, isn't it? Once Hari Karta, how can the Jiva come into mind and do again? But he does, isn't it? Because he doesn't surrender completely. That shows surrendering completely. Maybe we will be able to uh, receive him as he is. So then we will not do bad actions for sure,
Yeah, very important
isn't it?
point.
Yeah.
Na aham karta, hari karta. Then if I'm drinking alcohol, Sudarshan, and driving, then Hari only is doing that. Okay, so that's also possible. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful discussion. So let's move on. Okay, if God is the supreme controller, why is He allowing evil to exist and for us to do bad actions? Lots of amazing points have been discussed already in the satsang. But let me share a couple of slides here that hopefully will give you another perspective of how the Vedic rishis and the Vedic philosophy looks at this. Okay. There was a guy called Epicurus. Yeah, Epicurus was a Greek philosopher, 341 BC to 270 BC. Okay. So he asks a question: is God willing to prevent evil but not able to? Then he is not omnipotent. Is he able to but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then the question Epicurus asks, then when comes the evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God? Okay. If he is our Antaryamin and he is omnipotent, why is this happening? Why are these Hiranyakashipus of this world? Very important question that Epicurus asked in the 3rd century BC. Okay. Then comes another guy, Saint Augustine of Hippo, from Roman North Africa. He's a very great Catholic theistic philosopher. He wrote a book called The Confessions. Yeah, Google it. Some really profound philosophical ideas that comes from Saint Augustine, yeah, in the book called The Confessions, where he asks the question, who made me? Did God, who is not only good, but goodness itself, make me? As a Vedantist, we agree with that. Whence then can I do will evil and will good, so that I am thus justly punished? So he's asking, why am I doing evil and why am I doing good acts? Who sets this in me and implanted in me this plant of bitterness, seeing that I was made holy by my sweet God? Beautiful statements from Saint Augustine of Hippo. Okay, and critical, fundamental philosophical questions asked by Epicurus, the great Greek philosopher. Okay, the answer for these questions, of course, comes from the Vedic philosophy, and our Veda Vyasa had settled this long time ago. So let us see how our system tries to answer these profound questions of philosophy. So there was some discussion just a few minutes ago about the origin of souls, if Paramatma created souls. So there was that question that came up at origins of souls and their swabhava. So we had some contributions about the origins of souls and their swabhava, or their attributes or their intrinsic natures. Okay, that was the question there. So we actually have to go back right to the fundamentals here of Vedic philosophy. Jivas themselves, do they exist or do they not exist? Okay, so that is the first question that we have to ask, even before we go to why certain jivas are doing this. Let's go back and ask the questions, do jivas actually exist or not? Okay, only if they exist, then there is a question of having these kind of discussions, right? But you would be surprised that there are, I mean, not for this satsang, but there will be people out there who will be surprised that there are philosophies out there that actually go about telling that jivas don't exist. Okay, who are those? The first one is the Charvakas, the materialist. Okay, for whom everything is a combination of matter. Consciousness evolves from matter, the body is made of matter, and it just carries on. Okay, that is the Charvakas, the atheist or the materialist, the naturalist, if you want to call them. Naturalists who don't bring a supreme being into this equation. The Charvakas don't believe in God. Okay, they don't accept that there is not God and also the souls. They don't believe in souls. Okay, but the only thing that I would give it to the Charvakas is at least they know that the external world is real, that the external world actually exists. That we can give them some marks. Okay, but then you have another group called the Tathagatas, the Buddhists. Okay, for the Tathagatas also there is nothing called the soul, and there is actually nothing called God. Okay, for those who are not familiar with these concepts, that is the fundamental position from which the Tathagata evolves. There is no God, there are no souls, and this external world is a pure illusion. Okay, so that is the nihilistic view of the Tathagatas, who don't actually accept the existence of souls. Then you have another school within the Vedantic system called the Vivarta or the Advaita school. They also actually don't accept the soul. They don't think jivas exist. Okay, and this, some of you may be surprised with that view, but that is a fact. Jivas don't exist. Okay, because Atma cha Brahma. They've said everything is Brahman. There is nothing called the jivas actually. Okay, so if you take that view from the Vivarta's perspective, then jivas don't exist. So you have three such approaches that don't even accept the existence of souls. Then you have philosophies that that accept the existence of the souls. One group says, look, souls exist, they are subatomic. Okay. And then there is another view is souls exist, but they change size depending on the bodies that they occupy. Very interesting views. Yeah. So there is one view which says souls exist, they are changeless, they are subatomic. And there is another view that accepts souls exist, but they change size. Quick quiz here. Which school of philosophy thinks that the souls exist, but they change size with the body that they occupy? Anybody wants to tell us? Very quick. Which philosophy is that?
Jainism.
Thank you very much, Devalji. Yes, that is Jainism. Arhatas. The subatomic view that the souls exist, they're subatomic, is Tattvavada and Vishishtadvaita. Okay, they accept that the souls are subatomic. Whereas the Arhatas, also called the Jains, they accept the souls are real, the souls exist, the external world is real, the external world exists, the souls can change size in the bodies that they occupy, but there is no God. Okay? You may find this interesting, but go and explore the Arhata philosophy. There is actually no God in Jainism, very similar to no God in Buddhism, but there are two poles apart. In Buddhism, everything is illusion, whereas in Jainism, everything is real, but different perspectives. Arhata, as Devalji was mentioning, is an interesting philosophy of changing sizes of souls in different bodies. And for those of you interested in this, it's a very ancient philosophy, okay? Jain, Arhata and Tathagata are very ancient philosophies. And our Veda Vyasa, our founding father, in the second Adhyaya, in the second Pada called Samaya Pada, he picks up various philosophies and he discusses the pros and cons of these. Okay, for those of us, of course, go and check this out. I've just given a reference for this Arhata philosophy. Okay, why such diverse views exist? Anybody wants to tell us why should there be such diverse views? The truth is one only, right? The truth has to be one, but why are there so many views? Anybody wants to share their ideas at this point? As I said, this is a deep philosophical satsang today. Anybody wants to say why such diverse views exist?
One accepts what appeals to one's swabhava.
Very nice, Harshad ji. Anybody else? Okay, excellent. I would go with what Harshad ji has said. So in Anuvyakyana, Srimad Acharya takes a very democratic view of this. No dogmas, no saying, oh no, you have to follow this, otherwise is no. Very, very democratic view in Anuvyakyana. Anadikalato vrittaha samaya hi pravahataha nachchedo asti kasyapi samayasyeti ato vibuhu. Okay. He says, all philosophies and religions of the world have existed eternally in every cycle of creation. And each soul, as per her or his swabhava, picks up a particular samaya and carries on and reaches its destination. Yet, Srimad Acharya says, my Guru Vedavyasa, for the benefit of the Satvika souls, so that they can attain liberation, gives the views of the Vedic philosophy. And then he starts the Anuvyakyan. Okay. So, first point there is souls exist. If we accept souls exist, then this big question of why evil exists and God, why did he not do this? All those things come into equation. So, if we accept souls exist and they are subatomic, like the Tattvavada and Vishishtadvaita view, then the question is, who created the souls? Okay. And in this satsang, I think we are fairly clear. Many of us are clear that the souls are uncreated, because that is what the Vedas say. If the God created all souls as good, that will be fine, but that is not how the universe is. But if he can convert a bad soul into a good soul, it is possible, but that would mean destruction of one soul to another good soul, and that is not what the Vedas have said. And the Paramatma abides by his constitution, and he conducts the affairs of the universe as per the constitution that he has designed. So we discussed all this, okay, all this last week. Amazing discussion. But still, let us think a few more minutes about who created souls and their swabhavas. So Kavita ji, who I think is today in the satsang, she was mentioning about this. Can we just think about this again, about jivas and their swabhavas and their intrinsic nature? What is going on here? So there are two views, isn't it? Now we have understood that jivas exist. Then the question is, they have an origin or they have no origin. If they have an origin, then the question is, who created the jivas and their swabhavas? If we say God created the jivas and their swabhavas, then the next level of question is, then it appears that he has created three types of jivas: sattvikas, rajasas, and tamasikas. Sattvikas go to attain bliss. Tamasikas go to eternal hells and suffer. Rajasikas suffer in endless cycles of samsara. There seems to be three different types of souls that this God seems to have created. Forget about those who think that the souls are an illusion and this world is an illusion and actually they are not suffering. We are not talking about them. We are talking about the realism of philosophy, yeah, not the nihilism of philosophy. We are not interested in the nihilistic views. We are interested in the realistic views. So if these three types of souls are created, then the question is, if this God is so good, as Epicurus and Saint Augustine have reminded us, why has he created three types of souls? Some he are making them suffer and some he is not. And we are seeing that in modern life. Some is rich, somebody is poor, somebody is beautiful, somebody is ugly, somebody is whatever differences that we see. Then it would mean God created them unequally with varying outcomes. Okay. Then you are accusing our sweet God as partial and cruel. Vaishamya and Nairgranya, as it's called in the Vedic philosophy. Okay. Then you are accusing our God as partial and cruel. But God is and cannot be accused of partiality and cruelty. He is the most impartial being that we understand from the Vedas. Okay? Hold on to that idea. The Vedic view is jivas have no origin. Jivas are subatomic. They are eternal. They are uncreated. They are infinite in number. Jiva Swabhava is non-different from the Jiva and is eternal and exists along with the Jiva forever. Okay, so these are all the primary views of our Vedas. So I've just given some references like Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which tells you that the souls are subatomic. Okay. And then the Vatsat Sruti that Srimad Acharya cites that tells you about the infinite numbers of souls that exist everywhere in the universe, yeah, along with the Skanda Purana. Okay. So if they have no origin, the Vedic view is that they are subatomic, eternal, infinite in number. Creation of jivas means them acquiring a gross body. That is all is their creation. They just acquire a gross body as per their swabhava and they work out their karmas or whatever it is that they are doing for their destination. So the sattvic jivas will acquire a particular type of body, the body tamasic certain types, rajasic certain types. Sometimes the rajasics for some karmas they have done, they might do some nasty things and so on and so forth. So that is the karma here comes. Karma is the next level, but the first primary level is the intrinsic nature of the souls itself that is proportional to the bodies that they occupy. If you accept that, then Mundaka Upanishad, we know Yata Pruthivyam Oshadayaha Sambhavati becomes very logical. Okay, so a neem seed becomes a neem tree, mango seed becomes a mango tree, not otherwise. So God allows jivas play out their intrinsic nature in samsara so that they find their destination. God is impartial and most merciful is the Vedic view on this. If we take that God created souls, it becomes philosophical problem. Okay, there are many world religions that have taken this view that God created souls, whereas the Vedantic view is they are eternal. And in the Vedantic view, the rational summary there is God is impartial and most merciful. If we don't take the Vedantic view and if we say God created souls, then we will in some form or the other come to this point where God is partial and cruel, which means we are accusing him of cruelty and partiality. Okay, so I hope you're able to grasp this deep Vedic ideas about souls and their swabhavas. There are some very, very important sutras here. Lokavattu lila kaivalyam, na prayojanavatvat, vaishamya naigranye, na sapekshatvat, tatahi darshayati. These are all foundational sutras of Veda Vyasa that addresses these problems. Now is another question. How is it possible that God did not create the jivas? Because after all, the way same Veda Vyasa has said janmadhyasya yataha, that does it not go against the rules of the sutra itself of Janmadhyasya Yataha? One view there is the creation for jivas means acquiring a body. Okay? But there is another way of looking at it. How is it possible that God did not create the jivas? Okay, so again we have to go to the Vedas in a Katha Upanishad, Gita 2:12. We know this Nityo Nityanam Chetanaste Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman Tam Atmastam Ye Anupashyanti Diraha blah blah, not blah blah. So the beautiful verses of Katha Upanishad talks about the eternality of souls. If we say that God created souls, then there is also another question: in which cycle of creation did God create the jivas? These are eternal cycles in Vedic system. There was never a point where creation came into being. Creation and destruction is an eternal cycle that has been going on. So the question is, in which cycle? So besides the previous slide where we discussed about cruelty and partiality, there is also this question. God brings uncreated souls out of suspended animations during creation. Okay, that is another type of creation of souls. One is, of course, the souls getting a gross body. That is their creation, one creation. The other way of philosophically looking at this is when the souls are in the womb of Brahman, they are in complete suspended animation. Okay, they are completely unconscious. You and I, when we are in the Brahman's womb, will not even know whether we are there or not. We are in our consciousness is suspended. Okay, but there is a special form of creation that Paramatma does called Para Adina Visesha Apti, and he brings them into creation. In the sense, he then brings them into from suspended animation, he wakes them up into creation. Okay, so that Visesha that he gives an attribute of making them manifested from an unmanifested state is a type of creation, but the attributes or their swabhavas are the same. Okay, all substances, okay, material or non-material, have attributes. This is another core philosophy. There can never be a substance out there without an attribute. That is a very, very dangerous view of the nihilistic and monistic thinkers, of actually thinking that there can be one substance called Nirguna Brahman who has no attributes. A substance means it has attributes. Yeah, so that is basic philosophy. But some people take that view. But there are two types of relationships. Okay, a substance could be there and it could have an attribute. The attribute and the substance, what is their relationship, is a deep philosophical concept in Vedic philosophy. You can go and check it out. But for eternal substances like Brahman, like Jivas, okay, the attribute of the jiva and the jiva are non-different from each other. So that relation is called yavad dravya bhavi. Whereas a mango which is green and then turns yellow, the green attribute is changing to yellow attribute which is non-eternal. That is called yavad dravya bhavi. Okay. The point here is eternal souls with eternal swabhavas are eternally dependent on God. That is the summary of this. Dravyam karmascha kalascha swabhavo jiva eva cha yad anugrahatah santi nasanti yadupekshaya. 2:10:12. Very easy to remember this verse. 2:10:12. That is the final verse that settles this problem from Bhagavatam, saying that there are eternal entities. The first line of this verse talks about all the eternal entities. Dravyam, karma, kala, swabhava, jiva. Okay? And then their eternality is because of the eternal Paramatma who looks after them. Nityo Nityanam. He is called Nityo Nityanam. There may be entities that are Nitya. He is Nityo Nityanam means he is the controller of all this. Okay, so I hope this kind of covers this very important topic of jiva and their swabhavas, and it is quite timely. It may be a slight distraction from what we are focusing about Aitareya Upanishad, but Aitareya has said there are three types of evil souls that surpass me, and hence we've had this conversation. So God allows us to work out our swabhava and attain our destination. And we looked at the Mundaka Upanishad. Previously, we looked at this is like a classroom. Different people are writing different people are being given the same question paper. But they are all writing, all the Tattvabhimani Devatas are the teachers who are kind of, invigilating them. But they are all writing the exams as per their capacity of how much they've understood what this whole world is all about. And each one passes. Some get distinctions, some fail, and some, they're just there. They borderline pass or borderline failure, whatever you want to call them. Adrishta Niyamat, go and check that out. It is the rule of the Lord made by the Lord only, brought into practice by Lord, followed meticulously by Lord only, that he should bestow results as per the criteria, which are three in number. What are those? Jiva Swabhava, Anadi Karma, Purushakya Prayatna. Okay. So if our philosophers Epicurus and Saint Augustine of Hippo had access to Veda Vyasa and his Brahma Sutra 5,000 years ago, they would have found the answer. And you will find this answer only in the Vedic system. Okay, that actually takes this impartial, deep philosophical view of souls and God. Vyasatirtha in his Tatparya Chandrika addresses this in great detail. For those who are interested, you can look into this. Okay. So I hope that again, he impresses on all of us the fact that Paramatma tolerates three categories of children who go against him. Okay. What about the other three categories of children? Okay, so that is another question. Let me break for a minute. There is some chat box. There are some comments here. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So what about the other three categories of his children? We have talked a lot about three categories that surpass him, why there is existence of evil, the Jiva Swabhava, the greatness of Paramatma. Okay, now let us come back to our Aitareya Upanishad. Having spoken about the three categories of his own children who go against him, and that is also a common experience. Many of us may be aware of parents who have children. Some of them are the best among the same within the family. There is one who is so good and the other one who is so evil. Why? But still we tolerate because they are our children. Yes. Similarly, God tolerates the three categories of children who go against him. Who are the other three categories of children? And hopefully over the next 15-20 minutes, we will try and address this today. Okay, so quick summary. Samsara is a classroom. After examination, that is end of Brahmakalpa, what is happening? We all go back in Brahman's womb again. Okay, Samsara classroom, end of Brahmakalpa, that is after this examination, we will go in Brahman's womb. Reference Katha Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. We have done this before. Then there is the results day. Okay, results day is coming. What is that result day? Sarge, creation is happening. That is the results day. At that point, there are three possibilities. The Tamo Yagyas they have got the worst marks. They have failed that exam. Okay, they have failed miserably. Ye atyayam te parababuhu. So these fellows go into eternal hells. Okay, how do they do that? They cross the Vaitarani river and then go into the eternal hells. And then we did a little bit of research with a few of the satsangis to understand what are the 7 stations of eternal hell. Interesting. Just have summarized this. For those of you interested in eternal hells, you can look it up. Okay, I'm not, but I'm just giving you, because I don't want to go there. But I'll just list what is going on. 7 stations: Raurava, Maharaurava, Mahini, Vaitarani, Kumbhipaka, Tamishra, Andantamishra. Those are the 7 stations of eternal hells that are described in the Vedic system. Okay, there are some folks, I've listened to this and saying that there is nothing called eternal hell in Vedic philosophy. Okay, good luck to them. I hope they never go to eternal hells, but they need to study the Vedas as it is. Then, as Srikanji was mentioning, there are the ones who keep staying in this classroom. Okay, the Nitya Samsarin. And many of you who have been in the university, certainly in medical school, I know some 1 or 2 individuals who have been in the same year in the medical school for several years. They never passed medicine. They just stayed in the same class. Each one of you will know who they are. I know who they are in my in my college when I studied medicine. They stay in the same classrooms. Never pass, never progress. These fellows are called the Nitya Samsarins. And then there are the other ones, their results, they have written an exam very well. Okay. And these guys who have distinction, they cross the Viraja Nadi and then they go to Vaikunta. 3 stations: Anantasana, Vaikunta, Shwetadeepa. 4 positions in each: Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sayujya. Beautiful. These fellows go there. Okay. Now the question is, who are these souls and how do they get there? Okay. This is what Aitareya is talking to us. After telling us everything about the Tamo Yogyas, he now comes to Mukti Yogyas. What happens to them? Okay, so this is a new verse for us. So we got about 17 minutes to navigate at least some aspects of it. So let's make an attempt. Prajahatisro atyayam yiyuruti yava imaha prajaha tisro atyayamayam tani imani vayamsi vangavagadaha nyanya arkam abito vivishre iti ta imaha prajaha arkam abito vivishta imameva agnim बृहत्ततस्तौ भुवनेष्वन्तः इति आदौ एव बृहत् भुवनेष्वन्तः असाव आदित्यः पवमानो हरितः आविवेशेति वायुरेव पवमानो दिशो हरित आविष्टः is the 3 souls that follow Brahman, abide by Brahman and reach liberation, says Aitareya. Remember, Aitareya is teaching Rama and Chaturmukha, Mukhya Prana, and all the Tattvabhimanitas, the Mani Devatas who are all in that area. So he's teaching them all. There are 3 guys of my children who never surpass. Okay, the language is very beautiful. Let's try and dissect this out and understand what is it that our Aitareya is saying. 3 categories of souls took refuge in Brahman and gained great benefit. Yeah, so the same Prajahatisro can also be looked at this angle. Prajahatisraha ati ayam. Ayam means benefit. Ati ayam means great benefit. There are 3 categories of souls who obtain great benefits, and there are 3 categories of souls that surpassed him. Atyayam. If you take Atyayam, that is one meaning. Ati ayam means a different meaning. That is the beauty of the verse of Vedas. These souls are different from the ones that surpass. So he says Anya. Remember, Na, Anya. So you'll have to look at Anya here. And this Na will have to go into Nivivishre. So you have to move the words. So Anya. These souls are different from the Tamasika ones. And there are 3 categories of those. And Aitara says there is the first category. The first category, how do they worship this Brahman? I have said they abide by me. They worship me. They never surpass me. They know I am the Sarvottama. and they worship me. How do they do this? These are the Manishyotamas, or the highest among humans, described in this particular verse. How do they worship Brahman? Nyanya, Rigveda, Jamadagni said, Nyanya arkam abito vivishre. So, Anya prajaha arkam abitaha nivivishre. So, this nya and vivishre will becomes nivivishre. Nivivishra means ashraya. Abhitaha means iha and para. They always take refuge in arkam. So what is this arkam? Okay. So our Aitareya is saying the first category of souls, they always take ashraya in arkam. They are always they're engrossed, and they have always taken ashraya in this arkam. Okay. What is this arkam? So the arkam has got so many meanings. We briefly touched upon it. But in the Vedic system, it has to be taken in context. Okay, not arkam means the sun. Okay, for example, arka means sun. That is in certain context. In other contexts, arkam has got various meanings, as we will see as we navigate these verses. Okay, anya arkam abitaha nivivishre. Who is this arkam that is described in the Rig Veda? Aitareya in Aitareya Upanishad gives a explanation. What is that? Ta imaha prajaha arkam abito vivishtaha imameva agnim. Okay. Arka means Agni. Okay. So the Manishyotamas on earth. The Aitareya says the Satvika souls, the Manishyotama on earth. After all, Manushas are the sadhana shariras, right? Manushya means no, it is a soul that has occupied a sadhana sharira. We call it as humans. That is the most evolved species on earth. Okay. In that evolved species of earth, there are the lowest ones and there are the highest ones. The highest ones, the Manishyotamas, that is the jivas that occupy those bodies, they actually take ashraya in Agni. Okay, that is the first category, Manushyotama. Ta imaha prajaha arkam abito vivishte imameva agnim. Okay, arkam, arkaha. Acharya gives etymology there. Arichyate iti arkaha. Arichyate, that which is worshipped. Richyate, you give riks and worship it. Or richyate iti arkaha. So arka means Agni. Arka means that which is worshipped. So the Manishyotamas worship Agni. Which Agni? Not the material Agni, not the Pradhana Agni, not the Kalagni Rudra or Garuda, not Prana Agni, not Chaturmukha, not Kalagni Durga. They worship Agni Narayana. He is what is called as Arkam. Ajanair architatvat sahi arkaha iti uchyate harihi. Okay, of Acharya's Bhashya there about the etymology of what that arka is. Ajanair architatvat sahi arkaha iti uchyate harihi. Arka is Agni. Not the material Agni, but actually the Agni Narayana who is inside the Agni. So the Manishyotamas, the first category, these are the lowest categories, mind you, these are the lowest categories. Aitareya says, they worship me. Okay. The Manishyotamas meditate on Brahman as Arka present in Agni. Okay. And that is the whole reason why the very first Sukta of Rigveda, 111, Agni Sukta, starts with Agni. Agnim ile purohitam yajnasya devam rutvijam hotaram ratnadatapam. Okay. I have also heard some ill-informed Western, so-called Western scholars saying the ancient Indians used to worship fire because they were going around in circles around the fire because it was one of the natural elements. So they were worshiping the fire, the rain, the clouds, and so on. This is the highest form of ignorance. Because these fellows who write these ill-informed books on Vedic philosophy, they don't even know, or they have not even studied Aitareya Upanishad, or they have not even accessed Srimad Acharya's books. Yet these people write all sorts of nonsense. I think it is our duty to correct all this nonsense that is out there. The Agni there is not the material Agni. Indian philosophers or Vedic rishis were not going around the Agni because they were some primitive human beings. No, the Agni there had deep philosophical meaning. Agre niyati, agrayatvad, agre nayati, attim, angam nayati, agam nayati. That is what they are worshipping, the Supreme Lord. Agni Shabdo Ayam Agra Eva Abhipujyatam Agrayatvam Agra Netrutvam Attim Anganga Netrutam. Yeah, so that is what is Agni, Agni, that which gives volition to things that are inert. So many etymologies. So our rishis, when they saw this Agni Mile, okay, so here quick quiz. Who is the rishi who saw Agni Sukta? Who is going to answer this very quickly? Which rishi saw the Agni Sukta?
Madhuchandra, Vishwamitra's son.
Beautiful Shilaji. Perfect answer. Madhuchanda Vaishwamitraha, Vishwamitra's son. He is interesting because Madhuchanda Vaishwamitraha sees Agni Mile. Very first verse. Yeah. So coming back to this. So Mahidasa Aitareya says, there are the lowest category of souls who actually worship me as Arka present in Agni. Okay. That is the first category. Okay. Manushyotama, highest among humans. Okay. I will touch upon the next category and then we'll pick it up in the next satsang. So then our Aitareya says there is a second category. Guys, there is a second category of souls that also worship me. They abide by me. They look up to me. They know I am the Sarvottama. Who are these guys? Bruhattatastau Bhuvaneshwantaha. Iti Adavu Eva Bruhat. Bhuvaneshwantaha Asav Adityaha. Beautiful. Okay. Category 2 of souls. So Rigveda said, Bruhatta Tastau Bhuvaneshwantaha. The meaning of this, Aitareya clarifies from this Jamadagni's verse. Adavu eva Bruhat Bhuvaneshwantaha Asau Adityaha. So the view there is, the highest among humans, the Manushyottamas, worship Brahman as Arka in Agni, because Agni is the highest pratika of Brahman on earth. Okay, they all forget about all the other things made of stone, metal, wood, whatever. Vedic views, fire, Agni is the highest form, and we have discussed a lot. So that is Manushyottamas. So fire is a light on earth. Now there is another category of souls that actually worships a fire that is huge and it is out there. Adavu, adu. When we say in Kannada or Tamil, adu eva bruhat. Adavu eva bruhat. That another fire that is out there that we can see. That fire, adavu eva bruhat. Okay, so that is bigger than Agni. So there is a second category of souls that actually worship this Brahman as Bruhat, as something that is present in Bruhat. So who is this Bruhat? Asau Adityaha. The sun is that Bruhat, is the first view on that. So the Aitareya says, that sun that you wake up, most of us don't even bother to look at the sun. But for those who bother to look at the sun every day, that is called Asau Adityaha. That is Bruhat. It is bigger than Agni. And also that Bruhat is Brahman is the biggest. Okay, that we all know. Brahman is the biggest. Bhuvaneshwantaha. So this light of Agni on earth may have pervasion into certain areas. It is confined geographically certain areas for our contemplation. Whereas the sun on the sky is Bhuvaneshwantaha. It's all over the universe. It's all over Bhur Bhuva Suvaha. Okay, this Bhuvaneshu. And this Brahman is also Antaha, inside it. Okay. So Adityaha there has got various connotations. We'll pick it up in the next week, but I just wanted to introduce the second category of souls that worship Brahman who is in the Aditya. Adatte iti Adityaha. Why is this sun called Adityaha? Adatte iti Adityaha. This is something we need to understand. This Adatya iti Adityaha means this chap takes away 1 day of our life every morning. We don't realize it, but that is what is happening. He allows evaporation, cloud formation, rain, crops, food for our sustenance. This becomes important in the Ukta Vidya that we will see. This Brahman accepts everything. Adatya iti Adityaha. This guy is also called Surya because it illuminates everything. So our Aitareya says there is a second category of souls that actually look at this Brahman in the Aditya. Okay. And we know about Rishi Vishwamitra, our Madhuchanda's dad. And he sees Bhur Bhuvaswaha Tatsavituhu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodhyat. He sees the Gayatri mantra, which is in the third mandala, Vishwamitra mandala. So he sees Paramatma in the sun. Okay. Rishaya. So those are the second category of souls. Bruhattatastau Bhuvaneshwantaha iti adavu eva bruhat. Bhuvaneshwantaha asau adityaha. Pavamano harita aviveshati vayureva pavamano disha haritaha avishtaha. So that is beautiful. Then Aitareya says there is the highest category of souls. How do they worship? Pavamano haritaha avivesheti vayureva pavamanaha disho haritaha avishtaha. Okay, profound statement of Aitareya. We will pick this up in the next Sangha, next Satsanga. We'll go back to category 2s. There's still a lot to be discussed about this Rishi guys who actually look at the sun and have a contemplation of Brahman in the sun. Okay. And then who the Devas are, how do they contemplate, and then the Aitareya then carries on. Then he goes to the second Adhyaya, second Kanda, where he says, how do these three fellows actually think about me? Uktam uktam hi prajaha vadanti tadidameva uktam yameva prativi ito hi idam, and it goes on. Beautiful. Okay, the relationship of one, it's as we said last time, layers and layers of philosophy that is stuck, that is packed in Aitareya Upanishad. We just need to look at it very, very carefully as it is telling us. Yeah. So what our Srimad Acharya has done is he is giving an explanation of as the Upanishad is telling us, rather than coming up with a hypothesis and seeing the hypothesis in the Vedas. So the Mastaka Pustaka equation is very, very, very important. Okay. Pustaka is here the Apaurusheya Veda, which is Swataha Pramanya. It is its validity is self-evident. You don't need an external agent to validate its authority. Apaurusheya Veda is authoritative, self-authoritative. Swataha Pramanya. And that Swataha Pramanya, Srimad Acharya is looking at it and he is giving us the bhashya on that. Rather than coming up with a airy-fairy philosophy and seeing it, which will be a major disservice to the Vedas. Okay, so on that note, let's keep navigating the Aitareya Upanishad because lots of profound philosophies are yet to come in the first Adhyaya, in the first Kanda itself. Then we go to the second Adhyaya, which is even more interesting. Okay, so on that note, Krishna Pranamastu, we'll close today's satsang. Thanks for an excellent interactive session. Any questions at this point? Harshaji, yes.
Namaste, Guruji. Two quick questions, if I may. When we say that the jiva is associated with the swabhava, correct me if I've got this wrong, but swabhava is more desires materialism. So how is that linked to the jiva? Because jiva is supposed to be pure. Nandam dhati shastrani, he says at one point.
Yeah, that is for the Yeah, good question, Harshaji. I'll open it up for discussion, and other satsangis will have a view on this. So, Harshaji, if I got your question right, you are asking how the desires are all external and the souls are intrinsically pure. So, how do we reconcile that? Have I got this right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Harshaji. Can I open it up for satsangis to come here to look at Harshad's very important question, please? Any views? Okay.
I think whatever I have learned from your lessons, Madhuji, Paramatman is only Sakshi. Like what Harshashi says, the Svabhava comes on the Jiva Vritti, isn't it? Vrittis, there is, according to the Svabhava, yeah.
Okay.
So God won't, I mean, God is, he says, no, nothing, namam karmani limpan nabe karma pales praha iti mam yo vijanati karma birnasa madhyate. It's very difficult to understand what is. Because like Sakshi has to be, we are trying to understand by giving him all the swabhavas and everything. Oh, whatever is, it's his. So, like according to Sarva Shabda Vachatva. Everything explains about him only. So,
hold your
yeah, I
thoughts
think
there, Sheila ji. Yeah, I think I can understand where we're getting at. Yeah, so let's go to Shrikant ji and then go to Shaptarshi ji. Shrikant ji.
Here's my take on it. The jiva goes through multiple cycles, infinite cycles. And like we were talking about the first year medical student, each time we go through a cycle, we may learn something, good and bad. So you have a credit balance and a debit balance. And that's called as avarana on the jiva. So the next time you come in the next cycle, it has to be expended. Even a great soul like Ajamila, who had done too much good stuff, he had to expend it until it becomes zero. Then alone he can cross the bar. Else, keep on carrying on. So it's not that anybody is partial or impartial. It's what we did to ourselves, our own karma.
Okay, thank you, Shrikant But I think Harshad ji's question is, if souls are inherently pure, is it not the desires actually coming from the material body that the jiva is actually in it, and not the jiva itself? Okay, so that is the question of Harshad ji. So yeah, we will park your excellent comments there. We'll go to Shaptarshi ji, then come to Anand, and then Veena Suresh ji. Shaptarshi.
Yeah, thanks. So, Harshadji, I think we can look into this as in this way that Jiva, Prakriti, and God, these three are entities. So, if you know that the periodic table, every metal is itself has a nature. So, for example, if you take milk, milk has its inner nature, and this nature is not distinct from that entity. So, a jiva here pure means it's an unbreakable entity. So, it is the entity that and this swabhava is a part of it. You cannot differentiate it from. So, if you take the example of Duryodhana in Mahabharata, he said that it is not that I don't know what is dharma and what is adharma, but I feel the pleasure when I do adharma. And that is his innate nature. Like there are many people, even if you see the terrorists or the miscreants, it is not that they don't have knowledge, but they get the pleasure by doing that. And that is the innate nature, inseparable entity from them. Like it is not the Visheshya and Visheshana. So that these two things are same, like Ananda and God. God itself is Ananda himself. In the same way, Jiva itself is an entity, and the Swabhava itself is the nature of that particular. Like gold has a glittering nature, the same way.
Thanks, Shaptarshi ji, Suresh, Veena ji, and then Anand.
Thanks, Madhu. I mean, if I got, I mean, maybe we could, I was connecting it with what we learned in Katha, wherein there is a reason as to why all our sense organs are externally facing, Paranjigane. I mean, the experience of the material world is the path for us self-discovery. So I think where what we were just saying was that the souls are, I mean, there's a nature for the soul, and based on the inherent nature, we make the choices. But the path transgresses from the external to the internal. So the desires, etc., whatever our interaction with the material world is essential for self-discovery. Self-discovery is a precondition for realization of the God. Of course, all of this is what the God conditions based on our nature. That's how I was internalizing, Madhu.
Very nice, very super, Suresh ji. I think Anand had raised his hands, and then we'll come to Deval ji.
Well, I agree that the jivas are pristine, and but the swabhava is shaped by gunas and karmas, and when does that happen? Nobody knows, because they're all anadi. The karma is anadi. So the inherent nature of the soul is to identify itself with its material coverings. That's where the karmic imprints are, and that's what determines the swabhava of the jiva.
Thank you, Anand ji. We'll go to Deval.
So I might be completely wrong, but my understanding is in this philosophy that we are learning in this satsang, the jiva always has had linga sharira. So the question, I think the answer about the quality of the metal is the intrinsic quality will stand, but the actions that we do are always there, and that is the anadi, is how I understand it. So there is a material influence, but even in suspended animation, the jivas always had a linga sharira, and moksha is to get rid of that linga sharira, and what would remain would be that intrinsic nature. But I might be completely wrong.
Excellent, Deval ji. Pragnesh ji, and then Pragnesh. No, Pragnesh disappeared. Shaptarshi ji,
I'm coming. Sorry,
yeah.
I was having difficulty unmuting. So we were talking about linga sharira and karmic footprints, and we have got three types of karma: sanchita, prarabdha, and kriyamana. So sometimes this is where the influence comes of the swabhava. That as also it is said that what you do, action becomes habit, habit becomes character, characters become destiny. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Shaptarshi ji, historic hand raise, or you got another comment? Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you.
Madhuji, is this where jnanagni sarva karmani basmasat? I mean, that's the only way, isn't it? If whatever we are learning, we have to imbibe it in ourselves, isn't it? And that has to burn the gunas or swabhava, because it won't change. Like we are already there, we are already born. So for the seed not to sprout is only jnana, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, Sheilaji. Thank you for that. So we got Neeta and Shushrut, and then Saptarshi again.
Oh, thank you for all the discussion. Very quickly, if you remember the slide that Venkateshji had put up for Rajasic, Tamasic. So, all those gradations. So, Jiva can be pure, but one of those pure within that, if that makes sense. So, it could be Rajasic, Tamasic. So, that is the part of the Jiva. And then, according to that, Anadi Karma, Swabhava, and Purushaki Pratna, it will then follow the external thing. So it's not that jiva is whether it's pure or not, but it depends on the combination of rajasa, tamasa, and sattvika part in the soul. That Bhagavanta will not change that bit, although he can, but he will not change that bit.
So I mean, like what Saptarshi ji said is like in the periodic table, if you are carbon, you have got 12 sort of neutrons in it or whatever, so that will never change. If you are carbon, you are going to be 12. If you have gold, you have something else. So that defines you as a person, and that will never change. Whereas you can have a chain made out of gold, you can have a necklace made out of gold, you might have a sort of kirita made out of gold, but it is still gold.
Thank you, Sushruth, and then Saptarshi ji, and then looks like we'll close. Yeah, Saptarshi ji, go for it.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Neeta ji, what she said, and this is what I wanted to mean actually. So it's a pure means pure Rajasic, pure Tamasic. Now, there can be many theories like, okay, jivas are pure in itself, but due to karma, it get into this. And I think, and if you see the Achintya Bheda school, they somehow believe this, that jivas are apart, like they're pure, but there's a big problem if we accept that. Then we also need to say that if we are pure, like Bhagavan is also pure, then the reaction of each and every karma would be the same, but the reaction is different. So if I take a gold and if I mix it with any other metal, the outcome will be similar. Okay, but one gold atom is becoming something else, but another gold atom becoming something else. That is not possible. So a pure poison is pure, but still is poison. Like pure arsenic is pure arsenic, you know.
Yeah. Shaptaji, thank you very much. So lots of beautiful discussions for learning points. So perhaps I could just summarize all that we have said. So Harshadji, your question is a fundamental one. So here is the ultimate take on it. When we talk about gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, there are two types of this. Okay, there is the material gunas and there is the non-material gunas. So that is how you have to separate there. You have the non-material gunas and the material gunas. Material gunas come from Mula Prakriti. In before creation, these three types of the substances with these three types of qualities are in equipoise, and with creation this mixing up of various qualities happens, and then you got various material things that evolve. Okay, so that is the material gunas. Like the mango that is here, it's a material guna made of matter. Okay, then there is the non-material guna. There are entities that are non-material, and those non-materials have a non-material guna, sattva, rajas, and tamas, which Neetaji was talking about, illustrating that beautiful slide from Venkiji a few sessions ago. That there are gradations of souls that have various mixtures of non-material gunas. Okay, and there are the material entities which have the various types of gunas, and there will be a synchrony between these. When these souls occupy bodies, there will be some kind of synchronies, of course, that is decided by the karmas that you have. So in that sense, there is the gradation of souls in certain schools of philosophy, and in certain schools they don't accept that there are souls have different attributes, different grades of attributes. They don't, but that is what the Vedantic philosophy is, and we can accept or we can not accept, because at the end of the day we have to account ultimately what is it that directs some entity to do certain actions, and what is the origin of desires. Yeah, so if you want to go to the ultimate origins of desires, then you will have to eventually go to the swabhava of the jivas itself, which is what the conversation here is. I hope that clarifies. And another important point that Saptarshiji brought about the Achintya Beda, because we are in this slide, Saptarshiji, I'll just explain this. So eternal entities which have non-material gunas, the non-material gunas of eternal entities like jivas and Brahman, is non-different from each other. That Neetaji, Sushruji and others were talking about the elements. They are non-different from each other. That relationship is called Savvisesha Abheda, non-different. Whereas for material entities which are non-eternal, their attributes keep changing. So that is called Beda Abheda. Different come identical. So you can read about the relationship between substance and attributes, which is a big topic for any schools of Vedanta. So that relationship between in a non-eternal entity, in a Jada Tattva, what is the relationship between non-eternal attributes and the substance? That is called Beda Abheda. So this concept of Savvisesha Abheda and Beda Abheda is brought out very, very clearly by Srimad Acharya. Okay, and then there was a guy called Baladeva Vidyabhushana. Okay, but some of you may be aware in the Achintya Beda school. The history there is very interesting, which is documented very clearly by B.N.K. Sharma in his book on Dvaita School of Philosophy and its history, where Vidyabhushana goes to Mysore and he studies the Savvisesha Beda and Beda, and then he goes to Bengal and twists this Beda concept into Achintya Beda relationship between God and soul, which is not, which does not have strong foundations, I'm afraid. But this Beda actually comes from the Tattvavada school, which they have adopted and spoken about Achintya Beda, which is quite problematic if you're a pure realist and wants to look at this, but that is entirely for another discussion. But I just thought I'll introduce that idea as to how different people, again, it is because of their swabhava they view that way. Okay, so we'll have to go back to the swabhava ultimately. Okay, so on that note, yeah, so jivas are non-material attributes, matter is material attributes. On that note, we will close for another amazing satsang session that we have had, looking at some really deep fundamental topics. So let's carry on in the next satsang, where we'll talk about the other types of souls and how they start worshipping Brahman and so on. So on that note, if I could ask, let's pick up Sushruti. If you are at home, do you want to recite Om?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Om.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sushruti. Amazing session. So let's catch up again next week. Hare Krishna. Take care.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.